Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. Let's start off with a look at your top stories for tonight.
Island-wide protests against repression. UN human rights experts condemn repeated use of the state of emergency to crack down on peaceful protesters. Human Rights Watch says President should ensure his administration adopts measures to protect basic rights of all Sri Lankans. Damita Wetta granted bail, but Revolutionary Students' Union activist remanded. Attorney General objects to the FR application by Reverend Father Jiwantha Piris. President praises troops for defending Parliament in maiden visit to the Army headquarters. Electricity tariff to increase by 75%. Chinese research vessel increases speed while heading towards Hambantota.
In a look at those stories in detail now, the Trade Union Coordination Centre and the United People's Movement staged a protest march today. They issued a citizens' decree demanding that suppression be stopped and for relief to be provided to the people.
Religious leaders, trade unions, mass organizations and civil society activists launched the protest march near the Vihara Mahadevi Park this afternoon. The protest march concluded at the Independence Square in Colombo. The protesters then issued an 8-point citizens' decree against the Ranil Rajapaksa government.
Ranil Rajapaksa ආණ්ඩුවට එරෙහිව නිකුත් කරන ලබන පුරවැසි ආඥාව අත්සන් කිරීමේ මහඟු අවස්ථාවයි.
There are hooligans in Parliament who intimidated the peaceful struggle with terror on the 9th of May. That leader, Mahinda Rajapaksa, is doing well. Why is the law not being enforced? Ranil Wickremesinghe becomes the president as a result of the people's struggle. If so, what you should do first is to understand the meaning of the struggle and fulfill the demands of the people. This order was issued for the benefit of the people. We should continue this struggle in a fair, constitutional and righteous manner until our demands are fulfilled.
We would
like to ask Ranil Wickremesinghe as to if he is increasing electricity tariffs by 75% at a time when the people's salaries have been increased and when people have been given many concessions. Before burdening the people and increasing the price of electricity, he should bring his friend back and take the money that he stole from the central bank bond scam. He should take the money from the sugar tax fraud. If you want to collect some money, then you need to make arrangements to collect the money from the Panama Papers. But Ranil, who has no idea about it, is increasing electricity tariffs by 75% for people who are unable to turn on a light today. So we would like to inform Ranil that it has been proven that you are incapable. When the Rajapaksas have failed, the Rajapaksas have now launched the suppression by putting you at the forefront.
Trade unions and mass organisation collectives organised a protest against government repression opposite the Fort railway station in Colombo.
Some claim that the Aragale is lost.
But remember that the all-party government that is being formed by the elite within their palaces is the unity that they have among themselves. They are coming together against the people of this country. Although they claim to drop the prices of fuel, gas and dal, the massive blow awaits the working masses of this country. Therefore, do not let go of the struggle. If you do, the rulers will attack the people. That is what happened throughout history. Do not assume that history will not repeat itself.
Rather than allowing to meet the demands of the people, they are trying to form an all-party government to once again suppress the movement using emergency law. The trade unions will step out against it. Ranil Wickremesinghe claims he was elected to protect democracy and the constitution. What right does Ranil Wickremesinghe have to speak about democracy? He has no right. The Bohottuwa clan in parliament that voted for him also has no mandate. Therefore, Ranil Wickremesinghe is not here to protect democracy but to protect the rogues. The student movement of the University of Kelaniya organized a protest opposite the university premises demanding an immediate end to repression. Be it the Rajapaksas or the Wickremesinghes, we are aware of the deal makers. Confining students to universities is also a form of repression. They are taking away the rights of university students. They cannot move away from these issues. The university students marched from the University of Kelaniya to the Colombo-Kandy main road and demanded that the government end repression and implement a proper education system. One lane of the Kandy-Colombo main road was obstructed due to the protest. We will join the people against the repression by Ranil Rajapaksa. The university students movement will end the Ranil Rajapaksa chapter. We will provide leadership for that struggle.
Protests were held across the country today under the theme "Stop the Suppression of the Ranil Rajapaksa Government Immediately." The Trade Union Coordination Centre of the United People's Movement had organised these protests at the provincial level. This protest that was held in Kantale saw the participation of area residents including farmers. This was the protest staged at the DSN Nayaka roundabout in Anuradhapura. A protest was also staged near the Gaul Gota Gogama protest site with the participation of the public and private sector professionals. This protest was held with the participation of employees of the Horana Industrial Park. A protest was held in Alawa city against the current administration, urging the authorities to hold a general election immediately. A protest was also staged in Hambantota at the Surya Vava town. This protest was held in the Dambulla city with the participation of local trade union representatives. People from government and private sectors as well as farmers also participated in the protest.
The Gaul Face protest site continued for the 123rd consecutive day today. Several pre-built tents are still at the protest site, while a group of non-partisan activists still continue to remain at the premises. Venerable Kahanda Valipota Dhamma Sujatha Thero, who was active throughout the struggle, said he will be leaving the protest site today.
We need to understand well, do these Sri Lankan citizens have what it takes for a real change in the system? Otherwise, all Sri Lankans and the people of the world know by today whether we have to reuse the same old garbage and continue. We will leave this place today because if there is no uprising of the people, there's no point of us staying in this place anymore.
නැගිටීමක් නැත්නම් අපි තවදුරටත් මේ ස්ථානයේ රැඳී ඉන්න එක කිසිම තේරුමක් නැහැ.
8 people who were charged with being members of an unlawful assembly at the road leading to the Fort Magistrates Court in Colombo on the 25th of May and for obstructing the duties of police officers were released on personal bail by Fort Magistrate Thirina Gamage. The 8 individuals include Damita Aberatna, Reverend Satyavel, Rathilusena Ratna, alias Ratta, Jagat Manuvara and Joseph Stalin. They appeared in court today. The Slave Island police making submissions in court said that the group of 8 were among those who engaged in an unlawful assembly at the road leading to the Fort Magistrates Court in Colombo on the 25th of May, and that they obstructed the duties of police officers by attacking a prison department bus. Counsel for the accused, Upul Jayasuriya, said that the police had fabricated these charges. However, the Fort Magistrate ordered to grant personal bail to the suspects and decided to call the case again on the 29th of November. The accused were also ordered to visit the Slave Island police and provide statements. A false B report was prepared for some of the accused. The OIC of the Slave Island police was inside his vehicle with his air conditioning on, and he was asked why he is doing that given the fuel shortage in the country. That is the reason why they have been charged. We will file a case against the police inspector for fabricating a B report.
They have dragged the country to the streets, and those who unleashed violence against peaceful protesters are still at large. We condemn the acts of repression against the Aragalaya.
I was released on bail yesterday, and here I am for another case. This needs to end.
Aragalaya activist Piyat Nikeshala, who was produced in court on charges of unlawfully breaching the president's house, was released on a personal bail of 500,000 rupees by Fort Magistrate Tilinagamage today. Magistrate Tilinagamage pointed that a large number of people had entered the president's house on that given day, and producing a selected suspect to court is a fruitless move. The magistrate also noted that if the suspects had committed a crime, there is a possibility of probing into it. However, facts to that nature have not been submitted. The Fort Magistrates Court further remanded to the 12th of August Mangala Maddumage, the national organizer of the Revolutionary Students' Union, who was arrested and produced in court for taking part in a protest in Fort, defying a court order. The Fort police told court that the suspect was produced on the charges of engaging in a protest on the 19th of July opposite the Fort railway station and Bank of Ceylon Mawata, defying a court order, damaging 2 police water cannon trucks, and being a member of an unlawful assembly. Counsels appearing on behalf of the accused informed the court that no evidence has been presented to court to support these charges, which are pressed against the accused. Anthony Veranga Pushpika, an Aragalaya protest activist who was arrested in Fort and charged with damaging public property, was released on personal bail today by the Kaduwela Magistrates Court. Veranga was arrested by the Colombo Central Crimes Investigations Division on charges of protesting opposite the Education Ministry in Battaramulla on the 10th June, being a member of an unlawful assembly, criminal engagement with police officers, and damaging public property. He is also charged with engaging in protests in Fort Colombo on the 19th of May and 9th of June. The case will be called up again on the 25th of October.
A silent protest took place opposite the Supreme Court today when the FR application filed by Reverend Father Jivanta Pires was taken up this morning.
The Attorney General strongly opposed the consideration of a fundamental rights application filed by Reverend Father Jivanta Pires in the Supreme Court seeking an order to prevent the military or the police from arresting him. State Counsel Shamindra Vikrama, appearing for the Attorney General, opposed the consideration of the application, citing that Reverend Father Jivanta Pires had committed multiple offences punishable under the Penal Code, including committing contempt of court by violating a court order. He said that seeking relief from court using shortcuts and not the proper judicial process cannot be accepted. The application was called up in the presence of Justices LTB Dehidenia, S. Raja and Yasanta Kodagoda. President's Counsel Rains Yarusakalaratna, appearing for Reverend Father Jivanta Pires, told court that his client has not been informed to appear in court. Upon considering the submissions, the court ordered for the matter to be called up on the 1st of September.
අද දවසේ අපි දැනගත්ත අධිකරණ නියෝග කඩ කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්
We have been made aware regarding the violation of a certain court order. We will look at a suitable day to produce Reverend Father Jiwantha Piris to court either tomorrow or the day after. However, it is clear that this is repression by the police. This is state repression using the police and the military. If a person needs to be arrested, there is a proper process that needs to be followed.
ක්‍රමවේදයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ක්‍රමවේදය අනුගමනය කරන්න.
Religious leaders gathered opposite the Supreme Court premises this morning to stage a silent protest. We were at the Aragale grounds with those engaged in the people's protest. However, Reverend Father Jiwantha obtained permission from the Archbishop to remain with the youth. He worked for a change. Do not try to silence our special request. It is this voice that can bring about change.
මේ හඬ ඔස්සේ තමයි මේ වෙනස අපිට ඇති කරගන්නට පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ මේ සමාජයේ. ජනාධිපති රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතා
As long as Ranil Wickremesinghe remains as president, he needs to be reminded that he became president because of the Aragalaya. Therefore, a crackdown on protests is a despicable act. If he does it, it can only mean that Ranil Wickremesinghe has forgotten where he started from.
ඔහුට මුල අමතක වීමක් ලෙස තමයි අපි දකින්නේ.
United Nations human rights experts have condemned the repeated use of emergency law in Sri Lanka.
United Nations human rights experts condemn the extensive, prolonged and repeated use of the state of emergency measures since the 2nd of April 2022 by Sri Lankan authorities to crack down on peaceful protesters and prevent them from voicing their grievances amidst an economic collapse in the country. The statement highlights that on the 15th of July, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa resigned and left the country following months of mass protest, and his successor President Ranil Wickremesinghe declared a state of emergency on the 17th of July, vowing to take a tough line against troublemakers. It adds that the Sri Lankan Parliament had ratified the state of emergency on the 27th of July and extended the current state of emergency for another month, imposing a curfew and granting broad and discretionary powers to security forces and the military. The statement adds that such powers allows authorities to detain protesters and search private properties without judicial supervision. The UN human rights experts have raised concerns on the government on a number of occasions over the misuse of emergency measures, but to no avail. They condemn the recent and continued abuse of such measures to infringe on the legitimate exercise of rights of freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. The statement adds that protesters, including civil society representatives, journalists and human rights defenders, should be protected in the context of peaceful protests and not face criminal liability for their participation. The UN experts who endorse the statement include Clement Voulet, Special Rapporteur on the Rights to Freedom of Peaceful Assembly and of Association, Atiya Waris, Independent Experts on Foreign Debt and Human Rights, Fabian Salvioli, Special Rapporteur on the Promotion of Truth, Justice, Reparations and Guarantees of Non-Recurrence, Saad Al-Farargi, Special Rapporteur for the Right to Development, Livingstone Savanyana, Independent Expert on the Promotion of a Democratic and Equitable International Order, Michael Fakhri, Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food, Miriam Estrada Castioli, Chair Rapporteur, Mumba Malila, Vice Chairperson, Elena Sternert, Priya Gopalan, Matthew Gillett, Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, Francisco Calize, Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous People, Irene Khan, Special Rapporteur on the Freedom of Opinion and Expression, and Mary Lawler, Special Rapporteur on the Situation of Human Rights Defenders.
The Human Rights Watch has requested President Ranil Wickremesinghe to resume Sri Lanka's participation in the Stolen Asset Recovery Initiative to end safe havens for corrupt funds.
The Human Rights Watch says that the government should prioritize protecting the public from further hardship by putting in place appropriate social protection policies and addressing endemic corruption while respecting fundamental rights, including freedoms of expression and association, and ending abuses by the security forces. The Human Rights Watch recommended the following to President Wickremesinghe: ensure that people can freely and peacefully express their views without fear of reprisal or arrest. Withdraw the emergency regulation provisions that are vague vague, overly broad and disproportionate, or that violate fundamental rights. Announce a formal moratorium on the use of the Prevention of Terrorism Act until rights respecting counter-terrorism legislation is enacted, and release prisoners arbitrarily detained under the PTA. Resume Sri Lanka's participation in the Stolen Asset Recovery Initiative, a World Bank and United Nations partnership to support international efforts to end safe havens for corrupt funds, and commit to doing so as part of an agreement with the IMF. Conduct independent and impartial investigations into allegations of serious human rights abuses and high-level corruption, and appropriately prosecute those responsible.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe praised the armed forces in the country today. We'll bring you the details after this short commercial break.
Enjoy a highest return for your investments from LB Finance right now. Earn a highest interest rate of 23% for 8 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru, an unparalleled reward for a trusted deposit.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ?
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙවෙයිද දැම්මේ?
හදිස්සියට බාලා පයිප් එකක් දැම්මේ. නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටක්.
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටක්. හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප් එකක්.
ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජනනල කාර්මිකයා. දැන් ළඟම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Welcome back to the news. President Ranil Wickremesinghe praised troops for defending Parliament. He made the comment during his maiden visit to the army headquarters.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe was welcomed by Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Wikum Lienage, when he made his first formal visit to the army headquarters. The head of state was saluted in a drive-past guard turnout, and troops presented arms and saluted President Ranil Wickremesinghe after he reviewed the Guard of Honour. The Prime Minister, Speaker of Parliament, Ministry of Public Security and the Defence Secretary were also present, along with President's Chief of Staff, Sagala Ratnayaka. President Ranil Wickremesinghe gave away certificates of appreciation to the troops of the army who defended the Parliament.
ජූලි 9 වෙනිදා ජනාධිපතිතුමා එවකට ජනාධිපතිතුමා හිටපු ජනාධිපති
On the 9th of July, the former president's house was occupied, and thereafter the president's office was also occupied. By evening, they occupied the temple trees, the official residence of the Prime Minister. Because they did not know where the former president was, they set fire to my house. They were hoping that I would resign. However, the office of the Prime Minister remained standing at Sir Ernest de Silva Mawata. They returned on the 13th and occupied the Prime Minister's office as well. There was no office for the executive to function. That was in the morning, and in the afternoon everything changed. Groups wanted to surround the Parliament. These were violent groups. If the executive cannot function, and if Parliament was also occupied, then the legislature cannot function as well. If the legislature cannot function, then a government cannot function as well. It would be easy for one to surround a court and stop the judicial process. It is not like other two establishments. If Parliament was lost, then comes a bigger problem. There was no one to protect the Parliament. If Parliament fell, the constitution also fails. That is why I requested the Chief of Defence Staff, General Shavendra Silva, and Army Commander General Lienage to somehow protect the Parliament. That is when the task came on to you, and you performed that task. The protesters were dispersed. There was no need to shoot at anyone, and that is an important matter. I praise you all for that, and I thank you. This institution was protected, and the situation of the country changed the next day. If it was not protected, we will not have this present situation. Now, we need to take Parliament forward. That cannot be done by the Air Mobile Brigade. That can only be done by the MPs who win the mandate of the people. You have completed the first stage. Now MPs must protect Parliament functions to bring everyone together to solve the issues. We are hoping to bring a new constitution. We hope to bring new parliamentary reforms. We are in talks to form an all-party government. You must perform your duty, and the 225 MPs must also perform their duty. I request the Speaker and the Prime Minister to remind the Parliament of this fact.
The Army Commander also presented a memento to the President.
During the parliamentary sessions held today, it was revealed that two Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna parliamentarians who supported Dulles Alahaperume in the elections to select a president are receiving threats.
I spoke to you regarding a phone call I received on the 13th before the election was held, in which I was threatened in an uncivilized manner. I reported this incident to the Mirihana police. I gave the CD containing the recording of these phone calls to the president and the chief government whip. During his throne speech, the president mentioned that the law is equal to all. Is our voice being silenced because of the stance during the presidential race? I received a phone call on the 29th of July. They threatened me, saying that I will lose in a court case on the 14th, and by that court decision my parliamentary salary will be cancelled and I will be punished and imprisoned. During the phone call they demanded my resignation from parliament. They also threatened me in filth for the political decisions that we took in parliament on the 30th. Current minister and former parliamentarian Avati Manusha Nanayakkara also faced a similar situation. We prevented a brawl in which Minister Kanchana Wijesekara was about to attack him. You appointed a committee then. Did you decide on that committee? Kanchana Wijesekara and Manusha Nanayakkara may be sitting next to each other. They say all are close friends. But reveal the details of that committee report to this honourable house.
A group of people have been arrested for sitting on a chair in the President's palace. But there was a huge commotion in Parliament where some people sat on the Speaker's seat, spilt water on it, caused damage and threw chairs. A committee was appointed regarding that as well. This was before the present Speaker's time. No matter how many people misbehaved in Parliament, no one was punished. Why are those reports being swept under the carpet? A person by the name of Thirunadeshan called me and threatened me. I filed a complaint. Only investigations are being carried out. I don't know the progress of any of these investigations.
Meanwhile, before the start of the parliamentary sessions today, members of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya protested near the entrance of the parliament against the state of emergency and suppression. We condemn the crackdown on the youth of our country. In particular, we make this request from the government. Withdraw the emergency law with immediate effect. Immediately stop mysterious disappearances of youth under the guise of the emergency law. Stop arresting youth at will. Please work hard to establish democracy. Immediately release all those currently in custody, those who are to be arrested in the future, and give the people of this country the human rights they deserve. The government should realistically provide freedom of speech, freedom of expression. What's happening now is the complete opposite.
The Sri Lankan Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed that it made a request to defer the visit of the Chinese vessel Yuan Wang 5. However, the vessel appears to be increasing its speed to reach Hambantota by Thursday. The Yuan Wang 5 is a vessel used for tracking satellites and intercontinental ballistic missiles and was located some 680 nautical miles away from Sri Lanka. It's currently sailing at a speed of 14 knots, but earlier it was travelling at a speed of between 10 to 13 knots. India has repeatedly voiced protest against the vessel arriving in Sri Lanka, citing security concerns, and yesterday the Sri Lankan Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it requested China to defer the visit of the Yuan Wang 5. On the 28th of June, China announced that the Yuan Wang 5 would reach Hambantota, and the Foreign Ministry had granted permission on the 12th of July. It was only after that that the Yuan Wang left a Chinese port on the 14th of July. A Pakistan warship is on its maiden voyage to Pakistan while exercising en route with Cambodian and Malaysian navies. The ship is expected to be at the Colombo port from the 12th to the 15th of August. The Chinese-built Pakistani guided missile frigate PNS Taimur is to make a port call at Colombo while on its way to join the Pakistan Navy in Karachi. While Sri Lanka gave permission to the Pakistani guided missile frigate to make a port call at Colombo, it is understood that the ship was denied permission to make a port call at the Chattogram port by Sheikh Hasina government from the 7th to the 10th of August after making a port call
at the Lumut port in Malaysia. According to diplomatic sources, India's close ally Bangladesh denied permission to the PNS Taimur, as August is a month of mourning for Sheikh Hasina, as her father Sheikh Mujib-ur-Rahman was assassinated by Pakistan-instigated and Jamaat-e-Islami-inspired radical Islamist forces on the 15th of August in 1975. So what happens now? The state-of-the-art Chinese vessel for tracking satellites and intercontinental ballistic missiles reaching Hambantota and the Chinese-built Pakistani guided missile frigate heading to Colombo are taking place within a single window. How will Sri Lanka's neighbour India respond to these developments? Sri Lanka's strategic location on the world map brings great benefits to the country. However, short-sighted political decisions made by those in power have converted these benefits into disadvantages. Sri Lanka is in the midst of a tussle between two world superpowers, mainly due to short-sighted decisions made from time to time. What happened to Ukraine? Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and in the process it lost both NATO and Russia. Taiwan is also in the middle of a power struggle between the US and China. What is happening to Sri Lanka? On one side, strategic locations have been given to China and others have been given to India. The Yuan Wong 5 left a Chinese port after the Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry gave the green light. This is not a simple issue where you invite a friend over and then ask him not to come. Sri Lanka is seeking to defer the visit of the Chinese ship after it had already travelled many miles since leaving the port. These issues need to be solved diplomatically. Does Sri Lanka need diplomacy if we are to follow a process where we anger China because India does not like it, or anger India because China says no? Are those in power continuing to make baseless comments with zero professionalism while wasting time until Sri Lanka becomes a party to this geopolitical crisis?
Permission has been granted for an increase in electricity tariffs.
The Public Utilities Commission has granted permission for an increase in electricity tariffs by 75%. The percentage of the increase for electricity consumers who consume less than 30 units is 264%. On the 20th of June, a request was made to increase the electricity bill by 229%. The Public Utilities Commission will increase the electricity bill by an average value of 75% effective today and tomorrow. We decided that without increasing the requested large percentage, the percentage increase of 264% to be on those using less than 30 units. An increase of about 200% for a consumer up to 60 units and 125% for those below 90 units. Only 50% will be increased for the tourism sector, and once the tourism sector is established, the remaining amount will be increased. We propose that a discount of 1.5% should be given to consumers who pay in dollars.
We'll bring you more details after this short commercial break. You're watching Primetime News on TV1.
Earn a highest interest rate of 23% for 8 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru.
Helpless and forgotten, no more. For the people of Maitri Gama in Anuradhapura, a clean drinking water project was declared open, bringing hope to rural Sri Lanka. Gammadda, by the people, for the people.
Welcome back to the news. The International Introductory Training Session specializing in rope technical rescue in disaster, organized by APAD Sri Lanka, was held for the second day in Vaikal today. Special trainers from Taiwan and Japan conducted this training for a select group of search and rescue operators in Sri Lanka.
This specialized training program encompasses equipment adjustment and basic knots, handling personal protective equipment in rope rescue, knot pass technology and on-site activities.
Today we showing local how to use the rope to during the rope rescue. So we teach how to make like a team rescue. So as a team, we organize about around 5 to 6 members to join one mission.
And I think it's very important that the technical skills that we learn here today in the rope rescue is merged with the existing trainings we have done in swiftwater rescue, and it will be I think a merged experience, especially when we are deployed for any type of rescue operation.
Representatives from Sri Lanka Life Saving also took part in the event.
So this program includes high rope tensioning and search and rescue patient traveling through a river or mountain. So I think this will be one of the greatest training which myself and my team have.
Rope rescue techniques are vital for first responders due to its indispensable technology for both personnel and teams navigating through debris sites. The training is aimed at providing a comprehensive introductory session on rope rescue technicalities required to complement the swiftwater knowledge acquired thus far. The program will continue until the 11th of August.
There are thousands of students across the country who are continuing their academic activities even during these trying times. Now, in a bid to support their efforts, Government has stepped up to provide new facilities to a remote school in Anuradhapura.
The Galpothegama Vidyalaya in Galkadavala, Anuradhapura can be termed as one of the most remote schools in the North Central province. The school functions with minimum facilities and provides education to around 70 students. This is the only school for the village of Galkadavala. The main challenge the children and the teachers face is the absence of a protective fence and a proper access gate. Cattle and other animals have roamed freely into the school premises for years due to the absence of a fence to keep them out. Unfortunately, students and teachers are forced to clean the premises daily before starting their academic activities. Government identified this issue and stepped up to construct a fence around the school and also install a new main gate, being yet another successful project by Government with the help of Shriyanta Senaratna and his wife. The premises will be declared open tomorrow, while the students will receive a new playground and sports equipment as well.
The third phase of the Divisavya program continues to assist poverty-stricken families in Sri Lanka as the economic crisis continues to grip our nation tighter each day.
The third phase of the Divisavya program took place in Colombo district today at the Sitavaka Divisional Secretariat office. Essential food packages were distributed to the poverty-stricken families at 3 locations in the Sitavaka Divisional Secretariat. The Divisavya program, supported by LOLC Holdings, identifies families that are facing serious issues economically and provides them with much-needed relief packages.
That's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1 for tonight. I'm Charlotte Benedict for the News First team. Until we meet again, take care and God bless.